Massive U.S. airstrikes devastate Houthi forces in Yemen. In one of the most significant escalations in the ongoing Middle East conflict, the United States has launched its most intense airstrikes yet against Houthi targets in Yemen. The air campaign, conducted over the span of 2 days, resulted in hundreds of casualties and the destruction of key Houthi infrastructure, marking a turning point in U.S. military involvement in the region. Unprecedented military action. According to Pentagon sources, the strikes were launched in response to increasing Houthi aggression in the Red Sea and surrounding regions, where the group has threatened international shipping routes and targeted U.S. allies. The airstrikes were executed using a combination of fighter jets, drones, and cruise missiles, targeting weapon depots, radar systems, communication centers, and command posts. This was a carefully coordinated operation designed to neutralize the Houthi threat and send a clear message that the United States will not tolerate attacks against its interests or its partners in the region, said a senior defense official. Casualties and damage. Early reports from local media and humanitarian organizations estimate that over 300 individuals were killed or injured in the strikes, including both Houthi militants and civilians caught in the crossfire. The bombings flattened military facilities near Sana'a, Sada, and Al-Hudaydah, and also disrupted power and communications across several regions of northern Yemen. Eyewitnesses described scenes of chaos and devastation. It was like an earthquake. The ground shook for minutes, and we saw fireballs rising into the sky, said a resident of Sada, one of the main Houthi strongholds. U.S. justification and strategic objectives. The Biden administration justified the strikes by pointing to recent Houthi attacks on commercial vessels and threats to international maritime security. U.S. officials argue that the Houthis, backed by Iran, have become increasingly emboldened and pose a broader threat to regional stability. This is not about war. It's about restoring deterrence, said National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan. The Houthis have crossed multiple red lines, and the United States has both the responsibility and the right to respond decisively. Regional and global reactions. The airstrikes have sparked mixed reactions globally. Some of America's traditional allies, including the United Kingdom, Israel, and Saudi Arabia, have expressed support for the move, calling it a necessary step to contain Iranian influence in the region. Saudi officials, in particular, welcome the strikes as a sign of renewed U.S. commitment to regional security. However, other countries and international organizations have voiced concern over the scale and humanitarian consequences of the assault. The United Nations has urged restraint and emphasized the importance of diplomatic efforts to end the conflict. We call on all parties to de-escalate immediately. The humanitarian situation in Yemen is already dire, and further military escalation could plunge the country into a deeper crisis, said a UN spokesperson. Houthi response and escalation risks. The Houthi leadership condemned the airstrikes and vowed retaliation. In a statement broadcast on Al Masirah TV, a Houthi spokesperson accused the United States of committing massacres against the Yemeni people and declared that all U.S. assets in the region were now considered legitimate targets. The blood of our martyrs will not be spilled in vain. America will pay the price for its aggression, the statement said. Analysts warn that the situation could spiral into a broader conflict, especially if the Houthis retaliate by attacking U.S. military bases or allied shipping routes. There is also concern that Iran could become more directly involved, further fueling instability across the Middle East. Humanitarian crisis deepens. Even before the strikes, Yemen was already facing one of the worst humanitarian crises in the world, with millions in need of food, water, and medical aid. The latest attacks have made the situation even more precarious. Aid organizations report disruptions in the delivery of essential supplies and increasing difficulty accessing affected areas due to damaged infrastructure and security risks. Doctors Without Borders and the International Red Cross have both issued urgent calls for ceasefires and humanitarian corridors. What we're witnessing is a catastrophic situation worsening by the hour. Civilians must be protected, and aid must be allowed to flow freely, said an MSF representative in Yemen. What's next? As tensions rise, all eyes are now on Washington, Tehran, and the Gulf capitals. Will the U.S. continue its campaign, or will diplomatic channels reopen to de-escalate the conflict? For now, the U.S. has warned of further action if Houthi hostilities continue. Meanwhile, regional powers are mobilizing both politically and militarily, preparing for the possibility of a wider confrontation. This dramatic escalation in Yemen could reshape the geopolitical landscape of the Middle East, while the U.S. aims to assert control and stabilize critical maritime routes. The cost, both human and strategic, may be steep. The coming days will be crucial in determining whether the region can pull back from the brink or slide further into chaos.